Yeah.
Okay, now we're live. We're live,
That was
y'all.
a close one. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this is actual special edition because for those of you who have been here before, you know there's usually only two humans on this screen. But this week we have Catherine Trabucco, who is our behind the scenes secret sauce to just about everything that is Career Sprout related. She would never say that about herself. But for those of you who are new here and haven't been to one of these, my name is Katie. I'm a coach at Career Sprout. This is Catherine, and we've got our founder of Career Sprout, Gaurav Villani, here. And you want to tell them what we do every Wednesday? You can take it from
thing. So those of you who are new here, we go live every single week on Wednesdays. And we cover various aspects of the job search. Inside of our program, we teach US-based professionals how to land 200K to 500K jobs in the tech industry. And a part of how they do that, or one aspect of that, is landing interviews. And we use a very specific outreach strategy that Catherine Trabucco has nearly perfected. And continues to keep tinkering on, and how they land interviews, how our clients land interviews, is usually done through a very specific outreach process that we are freaking excited to share with you guys today. And if you are new here, you may not know this, but every single week we start off with Katie, who will share a joke or two. And I think it's time we do that, right?
I do think it's time. Maya, you will be the judge of whether or not I need to go to my second joke that I have prepared. Are we ready?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. So the joke one. I think I may have done this one before because it's one of my all-time faves. So if I have a backup. Okay, so it's the difference between a numerator and a denominator is a short line. Only a fraction of people will understand this. Get it? No, not good?
Do you have a backup or?
Okay, cool. Maya, you got to weigh in here? Cool, never mind. All right. Moving right along. The real joke I meant is I hate it when people say age is only a number. Age is clearly a word.
Listen, you guys, can I say something? So the jokes are usually much better than this. Okay, so please don't judge us.
No. Those are funny.
I think Michael is being nice. And another thing I'd like to say is the reason today's jokes weren't that good is because K-Mac has a lot on her mind.
Oh, golly.
If you guys must know, and for those of you who are wondering what is on K-Mac's mind, it's the fact that she's getting married tomorrow, you all. So if you want to just say congrats in the comments, you can do so today. K-Mac appreciates all the attention that she gets. So she wanted me to tell you guys today that she's getting married tomorrow.
That's what I wanted. All right.
So we just clipped the internet, y'all. So I'm sorry if we go out. She's aborting mission.
We have a lot to cover today. Also, there's people liked these. All right.
So, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. The sec was better. Okay.
This made me laugh. See, we got some people. All right. Let's get to the important things here. So today what we're covering, as the title right below says, we're going to go through the step-by-step process to land interviews without applying online. And it's very important. Actually, G, do you want to talk about like what needs to be in place for this strategy that we're about to cover? Like there's some pre-work that needs to be done for this to work.
Okay. So what you're going to learn today is how do you find opportunities that are either posted or not posted? And then how do you find the people that you should reach out to? Well, also who to reach out to, and then how do you find them, and what do you say And for those, the messages that we're going to share with you, the ones that you're going to end up sending to get these interviews, for those to work, it is really important that your LinkedIn profile and your resume are specifically aligned to the type of roles you're targeting. And we always think of it like advertising, right? Your LinkedIn profile is one large digital advertisement that tells the world, or should tell the world, here's what I do, here's how I've done it. I understand what problems or pain points you're trying to solve. Here's how I've solved them before. And so if your LinkedIn profile is not optimized and you send a message for a role that you know you would crush if you got it, think of what will happen. If you send a message, let's say to an executive, a hiring manager, a recruiter, the first thing that they're going to do is go to your LinkedIn profile. And they're going to say, well, they're going to ask themselves, let's see what this person's all about. What have they done? What have they accomplished? Do they have the skills, experiences needed for this role that I'm hiring for? And if they go to your LinkedIn profile and it doesn't speak to what they need, the incentive for them to reach back out to you or schedule a call or an interview is really low. So there was a while back, we created this thing here. I'll show you real quick. We created this, or we did a LinkedIn Live a while ago on February 19th on how to land interviews for 200K to 500K roles without applying, part 1. And part of that is like talking about advertising and how do you write your LinkedIn profile in a way that speaks to your target audience. I'm not getting enough interviews. So again, everything that we're going to share today, we're solving.
You've got to X out of that window.
Oh, so everything that we share today won't work unless your LinkedIn profile is optimized. So I'm going to just drop the link to that live that we did.
I've got something in the doc for folks.
Oh, you already did it.
So, yeah. So we're trying to keep this as organized as possible for you guys.
There you go.
I'll actually share my screen here and we can dive in. Now we're going to go through this. This is usually something that our clients have a decent amount of context before going into it. And then we end up spending a lot of time with them. So we're going to go through this, what feels quickly, but you're going to have the replay to everything. And over the next couple of days, we are actually going to be putting the finishing touches on this. There's a couple of things, especially based on questions that you guys asked today. And we are going to share this. We're just going to email this out. If you're on our newsletter, you're going to get this entire doc on Sunday. It'll go out. G, can you share? If anybody's not on that list and you want it, it's free. I mean, other than your email address, you can unsubscribe after you get it if you really don't want to get an email from us, though. But we'll send this out on Sunday, the final version for everyone. So with that, we are going to dive into how to find some opportunities, who to build relationships with, aka some influential people, how to find them, what to say to them. The important thing here, when we're talking about getting an interview from sending messages out to folks, there is such a big difference between spamming people and building relationships with people. So what we're going to talk through today is how to build relationships with people and some of the tactical strategies that have been working well for folks. So as G mentioned, I'll make this a little bit bigger. This only works if you have completed steps 1 and 2, which requires conducting a career audit and creating a resume and a LinkedIn profile to speak to the one role that you are targeting. And of course, the strategy, this is going to be linked to this session that you are watching right now. And so these are all in the doc that we're going to send out on Sunday. And I'm just going to spend a little bit of time going through the high-level overview of what outreach looks like. And then we're going to get really nitty-gritty into the tactical, how to do it, and then what to say to folks. So the very first thing that we're going to talk about is how to build some relationships. We're going to show you our all-time favorite messages that folks send out to build relationships. Then we're going to just talk through identifying. Generally, our clients will focus on 1 role per day. That's 5 per week. They're going to activate their current network. That's a little bit more self-explanatory, so we're not going to go into that today in depth. We're going to talk more about building new relationships, how to find the people who are influential, who may be tied to the role, generally about 10 to 15, how to find them, what to say to them in the connect request, and then what to say to them once they accept your connect request, or if there is a way for you to get an introduction to some of those folks. And then surprise to a lot of people. It's very rare that you can send a message to somebody you don't know and they respond the very first time. Follow-up is arguably the most important part of this process. So we are going to cover as much of this today as we can. And we're going to start with how to find some open roles. So I'm going to go through, again, you guys, anybody who's on the email newsletter, don't put your email address in the comments. Go ahead and go right to careersprout.com/newsletter so that you can sign up for it. And you're going to have this, but I'm going to do a quick walkthrough here of a couple of ways to find open roles beyond just, looking at a job board. So the first method here is going to be LinkedIn post. Now, when you're on LinkedIn and you are looking at this little search bar, a really cool thing that you can do is just type in the title of the role that you're targeting. Let's say you're targeting a VP of product role and hiring. And a couple things are going to come up. If you're doing two for Boolean searches, if you guys have questions on this, we can address it. But a Boolean search just means, or when you put it in quotes with a Boolean search, it means it's going to search for these two things together, which is what we want. So if you have more than one word, put it in quotes. And what you'll see is there are posts that come up. Now, when you filter and you look back at the posts, you can even look at the ones that were just in the last day, the last week, the last month, and you're going to see VP of product roles that people are posting about. Now, the cool part about this is you'll notice it doesn't usually get a ton of likes. If this person had posted and said, hey, there's no VP of product manager roles open, it's doom and gloom out there, like, sorry guys, life sucks, this probably would have 10,000 likes on it. But when you are searching for actual opportunities, LinkedIn has a funny way of not, showing it to a lot of people. So the first method of finding some of these job openings is going to be checking out the LinkedIn posts. Now, the next thing that our clients use is looking at people. So if you just did filtering by people, let's say you are if you're looking for a VP of product role, you're not going to want to type in VP of product, because what you're going to see pop up here are the people who are VPs of product and they're saying, I'm hiring. This is a VP of product. I'm hiring. These are people who are essentially saying, hey, reach out to me. I am hiring right now. And so the cool part about this is all you have to do here is think of who's the potential hiring manager for my role. If you are a director of product or a product manager, well, VP of product may be your hiring manager. So that would be what you search for. And so you can come through and you can filter by the people who are hiring. And then, of course, if you see the purple banner, that's an easy way to find somebody who's hiring. You'll also see in the headline here some folks like this. Now, I know we're going through this pretty quickly. We've done other videos on this, and you're going to have some references to look at right here in this doc as well. So if there are any questions, let us know. But I'm going to move through this quickly so we can get to some of the more tactical things. So then LinkedIn jobs, that's one that pretty much everybody knows about. If you filter by jobs, then you're going to see, of course, all of the VP product jobs that are here. So those are methods 1 through 3. 2 other ones that I'm going to highlight really quick. A lot of people don't think of going to Google, which is interesting, but Google is actually like a really good aggregator of job boards. So just typing in VP products, go to their jobs tab here, and now you're going to see I'm in Dallas right now. So it's showing a bunch of Dallas. You can filter by remote, you can filter by your area, and you're going to see a bunch of roles here as well. The cool part about this is you'll notice it's pulling from all of these different job sites. It's also actually pulling from career pages themselves, which is cool. So that's method number 4. And then method number 5, especially for folks who are going for startup. Leah, real quick, just to answer this, we're going to send this out on Sunday to folks. The stock is not quite done yet. It'll be done by Sunday is my promise to y'all. And we're going to email it out to everybody on the newsletter. And then the to sign up for that newsletter, you can just go to careersprout.com, go to our newsletter page right here, and just go ahead and sign up right there. So it's just careersprout.com, and then navigate over to that newsletter section. So method number 5, just to come back to how to find some roles, especially if you're going for smaller startups, going where the money flows, aka where VC firms are investing. And so we've aggregated just a couple of the top VC job boards, because once companies receive funding, what usually happens, they usually invest in marketing, technology, and hiring. Okay. And then there's going to be some more bonus roles here, or some more bonus ways to find roles. But I'm going to pass it over to Catherine now. And as I mentioned, this is where we're going to go pretty quickly through this. If you guys do have questions, let us know, and we're going to answer some of them throughout. And then in addition to that, we'll save some time at the end to answer questions. G, anything before we dive into that?
No, I think you guys covered it.
Awesome. Do you want to do LinkedIn? I'll talk you through.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So actually what Catherine's going to do, what we do with our clients generally is she will have them share their screen on Zoom and actually have them be the ones clicking through each of the steps. So I'm going to be our pretend client for the day, and she is going to walk me through the exact steps on how to find folks to reach out to.
Okay, awesome. And so remember, pre-work to this is that y'all will have found roles that you're excited about. So I think we have a sample role that we're going to use today. So when you're switching to finding these folks to reach out to, you'll pull up the job description for that role is the first thing you'll do. So you'll want to kind of put on your detective hat here. And again, we're trying to reach out to folks who are as closely tied or potentially have some influence on this role. So we're going to use, this is going to vary based on the company. If you're looking at VC, you're more in the startup world, they're going to be a lot smaller companies. You're not going to have to get as detailed because you may only have 10 people that you can reach out to at that company. You're not going to get super specific with who you're reaching out to. You're only going to have 10. For a company like an Apple or a Meta, something like that, there's thousands of people that you are likely going to be able to reach out to. We don't want to spend time going through every one of those line by line. We want to be very strategic in who we're reaching out to. So we're going to use information that we get from the job description to help kind of tailor who it is that we're reaching out to. So we're being super strategic in who it is. So I think Katie's got a sample role here that we're going to use for today. So we're just going to kind of peruse through this, your job description for the role that you're excited about, that you want to reach out to folks for. And what we're going to do is just look for clues as to who we may want to reach out to. So with this one, the team is always the big piece. So you see right here, manufacturing design group. That's a fantastic clue of like, okay, we are looking on Apple's manufacturing design team more than likely. So that's a good kind of indicator for us to use, because again, if we typed program manager, project manager, product manager at Apple, we're going to get thousands. That's not super helpful for us. It's like a needle in a haystack. So we're going to go to your network, and we're going to generally, and this is going to be in that doc that Katie's going to share, we're generally going to kind of target 4 personas, if you will. So looking for that role, that team, and then 4 personas on that. So how we search our network is go to My Network, then Connections, and then you'll click on Search with Filters on your right-hand side. And this is going to show you everybody that is within your network. Now, the folks that we want to build new relationships with are going to be second-degree connections. So we're going to toggle off our first and toggle on our second-degree connections. This is essentially a list of friends of a friend is how you want to think about these folks. You share a mutual connection with everybody in this list. So now for this specifically, we're targeting a role at Apple. So we are going to add a current company filter, and we're going to throw Apple in here. So now it's going to show us only second-degree connections at Apple. Now, typically, this is one of those, LinkedIn can be wonky sometimes. There's usually a number at the top, and it will tell you how many connections you have. LinkedIn's deciding not to show us that today, which is totally fine. But Katie's going to scroll down. She has 100 pages of second-degree connections. So imagine the time you're going to waste trying to sift through these folks. We are not going to do that. That is where our detective work that we just did is going to come in handy. We're going to do a Boolean search that Katie showed you a minute ago. And we're going to use manufacturing design because we think it's likely that this role sits on the manufacturing design team. Always use quotes for more than one word. And look at that. Now we have, let's see how many pages we have of this. 2. Amazing. We just went from 100 pages to 2. And all of these folks have manufacturing and design in their title, which is awesome. So we're going to scroll through here. The 4 buckets of folks, there's 4 personas. The goal is that you want to send 10 to 15 new connection requests out for each role you're targeting. So for this Apple role, you'll send 10 to 15 connection requests, reaching out to 10 to 15 new folks to start conversations with. The 4 personas we're going to hit are executives, hiring managers, potential hiring managers. And if you remember, Katie just touched on typically like 1 role or 2 roles above the target role is going to be your potential hiring managers. And then we're going to also hit cross-functional stakeholders and peers, folks that you're going to interact with on a regular basis. And the final one is recruiters and talent acquisition for obvious reasons. So we want to kind of hit across those 4 buckets. And the way that we're going to do this, we'll just do a kind of a sample one to show you some of the things you're going to think through as you're scrolling through so we can see manufacturing design. Awesome. So Katie will just pick a couple of these. Engineering program manager, you're interested in program management, data science intern.
Yeah. So as I'm going through and I'm looking at some of these, a lot of engineers are coming up, which makes sense based on if you really study this job description, it makes sense that there would be quite a few engineers on there. And so as Catherine just said, when we're building new relationships, these are some of the folks that we're going to identify when we are doing these searches. So the fact that there's a lot of cross-functional stakeholders here, all I'm going to do is send a couple of connect requests out to those cross-functional stakeholders first, because they're really easy to see here. Mm-hmm. So like an example of what that would look like, you just click connect, add a note, and just looking forward to connecting with you here, David, and then you click send. That's it. It's that simple. We're going to do that 10 to 15 times. You're going to pick a couple folks from each of the buckets, and that's all we have to do. And so if we were looking for maybe a recruiter, we could even just type in and recruiter. Oh, this is a recruiter in the manufacturing and design. This is a senior technical recruiter. Awesome. Same thing here. We're going to just try to find a couple of the folks that fall under these categories. And again, you guys will get that. We're going to send this out on Sunday. You're going to search for some of these things. We even have the phrases that you can test out to search for each of these different levels. And it's just going to be a little bit of detective work. If you do a search and you don't see anybody pop up right away, it's okay. Try again. If I had typed in talent acquisition, maybe somebody would have popped up. Maybe somebody wouldn't have. Maybe if I spell acquisition wrong, nothing comes up, right? And so like just taking some time and being patient that this is a new muscle that you guys are working for the first time. Try something new. Oh, okay. When you spell it right, magically somebody pops up. That's so fun. So just spending some time, as Catherine said, doing some detective work. And sometimes it can be something as little as a spelling mishap that changes the game for you.
Yeah. It's also good to note too, the searching that we're doing is pulling based on how someone's phrasing something in their LinkedIn profile. So that's another thing, like program manager is going to have different search results than program management, because we could do the same thing and have it listed differently in our profile. So this is not a science. Don't overthink this piece. We're just kind of trying to cast a wide net and get as close as we can to that role within this team. And again, hit those 4 separate personas. So while we're on this one right here, another kind of bonus to this when you're sending out these connection requests is to see if you have a mutual connection that you can ask for an introduction for. So let's say Deidre is a recruiting manager, because she says that in her title, which is really helpful. So this is somebody that we would want to reach out to. Let's say we look at the mutual connections. If you see this little people icon here, that tells you who is a mutual connection. And so you can look at that list, and let's say you know Roger, like, oh, Roger and I go way back. We used to work together. Awesome dude, super cool. We're going to note that, and you're going to send him an introduction request message and ask him to message you to introduce you to Deidre. You always still want to send that connection request. So we still send the connection request and then ask for an introduction as a little bit of a bonus there.
Awesome.
So that's our second degree. So that's building those new relationships within a company. And I'm just going to show you how to find, Katie's going to break this in a second purposefully so we can show you something. But then we want to just look at the first degree connections and just see if you do know anybody that's already at the company. We're not going to go into detail with that. It's more self-explanatory, but I just want to show you how to find those folks. You'll toggle on the first degree, toggle off the second degree.
Okay, so a fun thing with LinkedIn, it doesn't let you just always remove that. You can put a space sometimes and try to hit enter. You're going to see no results found if you try to toggle to just the first degree connections here. Whenever you see no results found, you want to take it with a grain of salt and kind of fact check. LinkedIn, about 6 months ago, this started happening more and more. Their filters get a little wonky. So if you see that, you just want to start over. You go back to My Network, click on your connections, search with all filters, and we're going to just go back this way. You should expect that to happen at least once a day while you're on LinkedIn. Not a big deal. Current company, I'm just now going to search for our first degree connection. So do I have any folks that I know, or do I have any folks that I'm connected to that currently work at Apple? This is what that's showing me. So I would spend some time and I would look through this to see if there's anybody here that I could reach out to because I know them really well, or because they could make an introduction, or maybe I just want to pick their brain. And so we're actually going to show do you want to go into the messages?
Yeah, we can do that.
Cool. So some of the messages, well, I'll let you take it from there.
Awesome. So then for these folks that we do reach out to, if we know someone that's at one of these companies, there's a couple different ways. And Katie showed you, this guy. Can everybody just take a second? Can we just appreciate the group guy? This is our jam. You can't be sad to see him. And Katie purposely puts him in here so when you scroll through, he's waving at you. Get you good. This
and
for
context, we send this GIF or whatever to each other at least once a week, at least.
Well, once a day, I think is more appropriate. Yeah. Awesome. So the feel good, Katie touched on this a little bit. If you guys have been following us for any length of time, this is a foundational principle of Career Sprout and how we show up in everything we do. You will be so surprised if you just start rooting and grooting in gratitude, as we call it, that you will be shocked when you put this good out, how much and how quickly it comes back. So we really do encourage y'all to utilize this as much as you can. This is one that's great for folks that are at a company you're targeting that Yeah.
It's just a gratitude message. So if you read this real quick, it's literally just sending a note, customized, very specifically thanking somebody for something they did that had an impact on you. And we get questions. We work with a lot of executives. They're like, all right, well, what if they were my direct report? It's there's a good chance that direct report did something at some point that left an impression on you. Those are some of the best ones to send out, quite frankly, because it's so unexpected. I don't know if y'all have ever gotten a gratitude note from somebody who you deem more advanced than you. It makes the other person, if nothing else, it makes them feel incredible. It makes their day so much better. 9 times out of 10, when you send these messages, you'll get a response that says something along the lines of gosh, you have no idea how badly I needed to hear that this week. And if you're starting off looking at your network and looking for ways that you can send gratitude to somebody, golly, it makes everything else so much more fun to do. G, did you have something you want to add to that?
No, not to that specifically. I'm very much aligned with that. But we'll talk a little bit later with some of my thoughts. I don't want to interrupt you.
Okay, so these are a couple messages you can send to these folks. The intro request message, we touched on that. If you have a mutual connection that connect you to a hiring manager or recruiter at the target company, this is the message you use to send out to them. And obviously tweak these kind of highlighted parts so that it makes sense for your relationship. If you just saw them on the way to the gym 5 minutes ago, don't say, it's been a while, hope you're doing well. Obviously, make these make sense for the relationship that you have. And then this is the other one that you would send to these folks that that are currently at this company, would be the exploratory call. Very similar to the gratitude message. If you don't have a situation where you could do the gratitude one, this is an alternative to that. Anything you want to add?
Not here.
Okay, awesome. So that's for those folks, the first degree connection that we did, folks that are already at that company. and somebody that you want to request an introduction from, those mutual connections of folks. Now we're going to move on to, we did this before, y'all saw Katie copy this. This is the message you'll send when you're initially reaching out to folks for those new connections. And then we'll move on to once folks accept. So
actually, before we do
Yep.
that, one thing, there's quite a few questions coming in about like, what if you can only send the 5 connect requests? Should I send something, a more specific connect request messages? Just to answer all of those in one, our clients do all get LinkedIn Premium. And so there are, if you just Google free, how to get LinkedIn Premium for free, there are a lot of different, or I should say there have been a lot of different ways to do that. Most people get like 2 months free if they refer somebody. So you could ask folks, just post on LinkedIn, or there are some websites that share how to get it for free. But you will, to send out more than, I think it is only 5 per month, you would need to have LinkedIn Premium. You don't need Sales Navigator or anything else. And then the other thing is the question of shouldn't you put something that's more specific or something that, you know, is really custom and tailored to that individual. We've tested so many different variations, and unexpectedly, surprisingly, this is the one that gets the highest response rate. And in addition to that, it is the simplest one, which is a nice bonus there. We've had people test really custom connection requests, and they're spending all this time looking about something for that role or that person or whatever, and it tends to not convert as well as this. So that would be our recommendation. 99% of people are going to ignore that, and then until they test it and they go, wow, this is fun, that people are accepting my connect request more now.
And to add to that, there, you know, some questions about like, oh, but I've done this and I'm not getting responses. So someone else mentioned, is this like a volume play? And it's like, well, inside of our program, our clients are usually sending, and correct me if I'm wrong, 20 to 30 messages per day, never more than 30. And we're only looking for a 20% conversion rate, and sometimes higher. Some of our clients have gone up to like 43%, 60% conversion rate. But now think about that number compared to what happens when you apply. When you apply, Teal, the company Teal, did this huge survey at the end of the year, last year, and they found that sending an application online is converting at a 2% or less conversion rate. So for every 100 applications you send out, you can expect maybe 2 interviews or less. Yeah. And in this scenario, if you're sending this out and you send 100 messages out, and you get 20 people saying, let's talk, that's a way higher conversion rate than that. So if you're sending these and you're like, it's not working, there's several reasons for that. The reason number 1 is your LinkedIn profile is usually not as optimized as it should be. And so we shared that there's a resource in here for that, of how to get it optimized first. And that is the number 1 step. And then the second reason is they're usually not sending enough messages. So yeah, it is to some degree a volume play. And then usually what people will wonder is like, well, what if I'm sending the same message to like 15 people inside the same company? Doesn't that make me look desperate? And it's like, I get why you would ask that. Even our own clients ask that. And what we found is like, no, it doesn't make you look desperate. But 2, none of those 15 people are like sitting there talking to each other and be like, oh my God, can you believe how audacious Crystal is? She sent the same message to all 15 of us. No one talks like that. No one talks about those things. So all you really need is one conversation to turn this whole thing around. So I just wanted to give that additional context, and we can jump in.
Yeah.
Keep going.
And one thing, like, just to really emphasize this, I'm a numbers nerd through and through. Like, you give me, I'll use a spreadsheet to soothe myself at the end of a stressful day.
True story.
And what matters so much more than just like the data and the stats here, and this is something that I've really gotten and learned from Gaurav, is what we're doing here is building relationships. When you submit an app, it doesn't matter if it's it doesn't matter if it's a 50% response rate. That is a one and done. You shoot your shot. There's nothing else that happens. When you're sending these messages, and you'll see how they're designed, you have an opportunity to build a relationship with a human being who's working on really cool things at a company that you admire. And you like we have so many folks who get lifelong mentors out of this, people who become friends, people who just enjoy catching up with each other. Like the human component of this is so important. I mean, to the point, like, geez, mama says it best. No one cares about how much you know until they know about how much you care. And outreach is giving you a chance to show somebody that you actually genuinely care. You're not just blasting, apps out to the universe. You're building like actual human connections here.
Yeah. And I think that's good to know too, in the folks asking questions about the messaging. That's probably a very good distinction to make, is like, look back at those messages that you're sending if you're not seeing that result. And you'll see here, we're going to show a couple of examples of how human and how relationship building these messages really are. More like a coffee chat, or like catching up with a neighbor. Like that's the feel that we want these to have. So we covered the current connection or your current network messages, those folks at those companies. And then for folks that you do those 10 to 15 connection requests, for folks that accept your connection request back, you're going to send one of 2 messages, and you'll want to split these. Kind of split test them. Folks usually see they resonate a little bit more with one, get a little bit better response rate with one versus the other. So just kind of test it. And a couple kind of rules of thumb you'll want to follow here. Exploratory call is really great for like cross-functional peers, someone you may not interact with as often, someone who's not as closely tied to the role. And the role specific is really great for a hiring manager and a recruiter, because it speaks very much to that specific role, which they will be very well versed in. And it just speaks a little bit clearer to them. So if you, sorry, I kind of flipped on you. So the exploratory call, as Katie said, if we kind of read through this, great to connect with you. Obviously, we'll always do an intro. I was doing some research on next steps of my career. I'm grateful. So again, starting with that gratitude and rooting in that. And then it's inspiring to see how you've been able to, and you'll just look at their profile and find something about their background that you can relate to and kind of tie into this. So if they went from financial industry to another industry, you're kind of making that same transition. If they went from project management to program management and they're kind of making that transition, you'll just call out something that's a parallel from their background. Again, we talked about this before. If you receive a message like that, it's just awesome that it's like, wow, they care, they looked, they know who I am, and they feel seen and they feel heard, which is great. That's where you get that human element. And then I know it's a long shot, but would you be opposed to hopping on a 15-minute call to share more how you navigated your journey? I know it's a lot to ask given we don't know each other. If you're not able to, I completely understand. So it's just a very organic, very natural, great message that doesn't give anybody those weird salesy vibes that sometimes folks talk about in the exploratory call. And then the role specific.
Yeah. And just real quick, like this is, you'll see people, even in the comments here, you can go and you can find some doom and gloom people. You're going to find people who don't respond or who don't care. There are people that are happy to help, or there are people who are voluntarily sharing like, hey, I've got free LinkedIn premiums. Like I can help. Like there are so many people in this world that genuinely enjoy helping folks. And I think sometimes it's easy to forget that, especially when we're going through something. And so that's where like just keeping in mind and like keeping your eyes open for some things like that goes a long way. Sorry for interrupting. I did interrupt. I was going to say not to interrupt. All right, moving on.
So then this is the role specific one we touched on. And again, really great. This one really is going to speak well to those recruiters, hiring managers, folks that are really closely aligned to that role, because they know what that role is looking for. And they also have a vested interest in a good human filling that role, because they're going to be working with that said human. So there's a couple kind of variations we have here. Do you want to go into detail with this?
I know we're coming up on time, so I'm going to give you guys the short version of this. When you're reaching out about a specific role, you want to make it as easy as possible for this person, anybody who's familiar with the role, essentially, they should read this message and instantly think, oh, so-and-so would be a great fit for that. That's what we want. The result. So if we've got an example here based on the one that we showed up above, we're going to be pulling things from this actual job description to write the message. So if you look at this, the framework is I was researching this specific, role, and the search for someone who has, we're going to talk about something from the job description that catches your attention, and then talk about 3 things that you've done that relate to that job description. Even better if you can have metrics tied to it. So for example, and this is obviously not my stats here, but I'm going to pretend like it is. This is from a client. Actually, she got this role. She was researching this. I was researching your title, or you could say Apple's manufacturing design program manager role. Your search for someone who has a blend of business and technical knowledge caught my attention. Why did she say that? Well, because this whole job description talks about, in the summary, we're looking for somebody who can do each of these things, and they should possess a blend of business and technical knowledge, right? Pulled it right out of the job description here, right from this summary section. Now, the next thing, talking about what they've done, why did she pick these stats? So she talked about improving on-time delivery 15%. She talked about accelerating problem-solving response times 30%. And she talked about reducing lead times 10%. Well, if you notice, she had this impact on the business by doing something from the job description. She went to these first 3 bullet points and she said, okay, they need somebody who can create process development schedules. They need somebody who can facilitate cross-functional alignment and communication. So you need somebody who can drive suppliers, integrate those deliverables. That's exactly what she's done. So she just talked about how she has a history of getting wins, doing exactly what they are asking in the job description. It's that simple. All it is your quantifiable accomplishment tied to something from the job description here. If you do that, anybody who's familiar with that role is going to go, oh, that's actually exactly what we're looking for. That's pretty cool. I mean, if they read it, obviously there's going to require follow-ups and things like that as well. Did I miss anything on that?
No, I think that was good. And then you can see there's a couple variations of the call to action, depending on, again, what makes sense for the role, for who it is you're talking to. You can kind of change, tweak that based on who it is. And then the example, and then follow. Do you want to touch on follow-up?
Yeah, and I will. So somebody asked, why would you be opposed to a 15-minute call? If y'all want a ninja hack here, 1, we've tested a lot of different things. 2, people are naturally more likely to say no. So when you phrase it in this way, by saying, would you be opposed? No, I'm not opposed. Same way, if you say, would you be available? They're just as likely to say, nope, not available. So if you phrase it that way, you get a better response rate.
The more you know.
Fun fact of the day. Okay. And then follow-up messages. This is really, really, really important. We expect it to take a couple of follow-ups. So G mentioned a 20% conversion rate when it comes to connect requests. There's another spot that we expect at least a 20% response rate. It's to these messages. But in order to get that 20% response rate, we assume it is going to take some follow-up to do. If you talk to anybody in sales, like anybody who has done any sort of outreach in their lifetime, 20%, you tell them 20% response rate, and they're going to say, golly, hot dog, that's pretty good. Not everybody. There's some ninjas out there, but you don't even have to be a ninja to do this. But it requires follow-up. There are so many different reasons why somebody may not have responded to your first message, and it oftentimes has absolutely nothing to do with you. So it's so important that you are following up with folks, and that it's not just, hey, did you see my last message? Hey, can we talk? Hey, bumping this up. Like, that's not the way we follow up. The way we follow up is by looking for a way to make a deposit. That means you can be checking out their LinkedIn profile, seeing what type of content they're posting. It means if it's a recruiter, you can ask if you see that they're, hiring for a role that maybe you're a product manager and they're hiring for an engineer. You can say, hey, I just saw your post about the engineer. More than happy to look through my network if you're still looking for candidates and make an introduction. You're looking for ways to add value to those individuals. If they posted something, like their post, comment on it, shoot them a message. Hey, just saw your post about XYZ. What a great perspective on that, right? And then what naturally happens is your message gets bumped to the top of their inbox. And what do you do when you get a message from a name that maybe you're not familiar with? You scroll up to see the context of the conversation before, and then they see your message. Yeah, sometimes a taco truck shows up. I wanted tacos that day that I wrote that in there. So hopefully if anybody else likes tacos, you appreciated that. And that's pretty much the quick version of what the outreach strategy is. And we did have a little group at the end here, just for you guys. Gee, did we miss anything? Did I cut you off? Did you?
No, that was good.
No. It's really important. Like, it's funny because like if I were searching for a job today, I would think this is either too simplistic or too good to be true. And you're kind of right. Like, it is simplistic, but it's not easy. But think about first and foremost, like why you probably feel that way, right? Like we've been doing this since 2016. We've had over 800 and something clients. Like we all have been in the job search ourselves. Me, Katie, Catherine, Danielle, who's not here yet or today. And everyone here, most likely, including us, when we got out of school or when we first started a job, think about what we were taught. We were taught to sit there and apply to as many jobs as we can every single day. And that information has not truly evolved throughout the years. So even today, when someone finds themselves in a job search, think of it like this. It's usually out of a place of reaction, and usually a negative situation has occurred, right? We got laid off, we're undervalued, we're underpaid, we don't like our boss, toxic culture, whatever. So think of that. Like right now, we're reacting, we're highly emotional. And so the first thing we want to do, and the first thing we default to, is what we've been taught many, many years ago, which is put together a resume and now go and apply to as many jobs as you can. And then what happens? We hardly hear back. And then we just keep doing it over and over and over again. And then we hardly hear back. And then someone like myself or K-Mac or Catherine comes in here is like, wait, don't do that. Just send a message. And you're like, you know how stupid that sounds? Okay, let me do it. Let me send a message. Oh, that didn't work. This is bullshit. It's like, no. There's a process to this. And so, like I can't reemphasize enough that when you try this, initially, you won't hear back from people. But rather than dismissing it and saying this doesn't work, take a step back or to the side and ask yourself, well, why isn't it working? Maybe it was the message. Maybe like the message I sent didn't work. Or maybe I didn't follow up enough. Or maybe when I sent the message, even though it was perfect, they looked at my LinkedIn profile and they probably didn't see what they need to. So we talked about this when we started the call, but for those of you who jump late, for this to be really effective, there's a few steps you have to do in the beginning, and it's outlined in the document, which you guys will get this Sunday. But first and foremost, it's getting really clear on like the job you're targeting, right? And then making sure that your background, your experiences speaks to that role. And then making sure next that your LinkedIn profile speaks to the type of roles you're going to target. Otherwise, when you send a message, they have no reason to reach out to you in today's day and age, right? So if you've done those three things first, which we also break down specifically in this document how to do that, then when you send these messages and then you implement like the volume and then you implement follow-up, you will see much better results. And I'm just going to share my screen here for 1 second. And again, if you want to look at this and dismiss it, that's fine. We don't want to presume that our way is the only way. And I don't want to try to convince anyone of anything either, because I just don't feel good doing that. But I'm going to share something with you guys. This was somebody, if you look, she got a role, 750 total comp. I can't believe that this final role was from a cold outreach and not from a prior contact. And if you look, I put in, these are just what people say in our program. My last 2 cents, networking and outreach is the lifeblood of this program. What changed everything for me was outreach. And every single human that goes through our program, or I would say at least 98% of them, talk about outreach, networking, outreach, outreach, outreach. So it's really hard for us, at least, and for anyone here to say like, wait, this doesn't work. It's like, it would be very naive to say it doesn't work when other people are doing it and it's working. So rather than saying it doesn't work, it's better to ask yourself, why doesn't it work? And then once you figure out that root cause, you can tweak it and then it will eventually start working. So that was my last 2 cents. And we're super duper excited for you guys to try this out, but make sure you guys are following the steps. And then obviously, next week we're going to do this again. And if you have questions, we can answer those for you on that LinkedIn Live as well.
Yeah. And one thing that I just want to share, to your point of like asking why it's not working, there is a difference between sending messages and seeking to build relationships with folks. Like, I'm going to show you guys an example of a message that I got here. I meant to have this on my screen. Literally, I blurred the person's name out. Literally what they sent me, and their title is Outreach Specialist. They said, I want to talk about a job. That was the message that I got. That's not helpful. For me, that doesn't tell me they've done any work. We're not even hiring. So he didn't even take the time to see like if I was somebody that did have a job. If those are the messages that you're sending out, I would not expect a 20% response rate from those. It takes a little bit of tailoring to get there.
That's right. Was this helpful, you guys? Please let us know if it was. And Catherine, thank you so much for putting this together for everyone. You guys, just so you know, Catherine is really the secret sauce, like Katie said, to like outreach and helping our clients land these interviews. So it was super cool for her to like put this together and share it. So make sure you give her some love, even though she's an introvert. I'm putting all this attention on her.
Yes. All right, guys. Yes, please thank Catherine. Catherine is actually the one who put together pretty much all of this guide and is the reason why you will be getting it on Sunday. She's the bee's knees. So thank you guys for coming. And next week, there will be, we don't have a link for it yet, but stay tuned. We'll share this link with folks. We can add this to the Sunday newsletter too. Next week, we're going to be doing an interview prep session, right?
Yeah. And we did this actually a few weeks ago with Janelle. We did a live interview prep with her. If one of you want to volunteer to do a live interview prep, please message me on LinkedIn. I won't get to every message. I'm just letting you know right now. But here's the criteria. You have to be based in the US. You have to be going for a role such as product management, program management, or product management. Or a few others like analytics and strategy and ops. So if you meet that criteria, you're based in the US, you're obviously in the job search now, you've done project, program, or product management or strategy and ops, message me if you want to volunteer to do a live interview prep, and then I'll send you some information on like how to prepare and things like that as well.
Yes. And Jesus just asked, very helpful, quick question. What do you guys specifically offer to your clients? So we actually have a bit of a wait list at the moment, but G did put together, and I put us on the thumbnail of this video. I will share a link that walks through. There's a wait list. Most people do not need our coaching. We put as much as possible out for free, just so you guys know. If you go through all of our stuff and you feel like you do need added coaching, you just want a little bit more feedback and things like that, there's a wait list. I'll share the link for it where it just walks through all of that in the comments right below here as well. But again, I don't want you guys sitting and waiting on the wait list. Our favorite thing that we get or our favorite email that we get from people is, hey, please take me off the wait list. I just used all of your free stuff to land an offer that I'm super pumped about. I went from this to this, and like, thank you. Though, like, please do send us those too when you accept your offer. Her Sprout coaching info, I'll put that in the comments here too. Cool.
Sweet. Well, thank you guys again for making the time, sitting with us for this last hour. We really appreciate you. We're rooting for you. And then we'll see you again next week on the live interview prep. And message me if you want to be a volunteer to be interviewed, to do a prep with me live.